Hi everyone, it's Sarah here. Today I'm going to be working in my January Traveler's Notebook. I am bringing in a bunch of my favorites, some of my favorite cards and stamp sets and ink colors, and some of these are old, so they're not available anymore, but anything that is available I will be sure to link in the description box so you can find them down there. So I am starting off this layout by choosing some cards from an old Kelly Purkey Documenter kit. I love pulling in Project Life cards into my notebook. They're kind of the perfect size, and a lot of times I don't even need to trim them down. For this page, I actually just turned one horizontally and another one vertically, and I'm just going to let them overlap each other, and you kind of get the perfect amount of pattern peeking out of those cards behind the photo, and it's just a really easy way to bring in some pattern and color onto the page. So I am sticking those down using some red line tape, just because these cards tend to be a little bit of a heavier weight than, say, just a regular pattern paper. And I find that a stronger adhesive will keep it so that the edges of those cards don't come up over time. Not all Project Life cards are like that. Some of them are definitely a lighter weight and more of like a pattern paper weight, but these ones, the Kelly Purkey ones, are kind of a heavy cardstock. So I definitely wanted to make sure those were really stuck down onto my page. So I'm pulling in a couple of my favorite food stamp sets. Both of those are from Kelly Purkey, and this one in particular is the stamp set that corresponds to the cards that I'm using here. It's all breakfast or brunch related, which I love because brunch is my favorite meal of the day. I could eat breakfast food all day long if it were up to me. And I love this stamp set because it's super customizable and you can bring in a bunch of different ink colors and really just make some fun embellishments. I wasn't sure if I wanted to stamp out my title or use one of the titles from a card. So I am actually going to trim down this 4x6 card and use this Rise and Shine sentiment as my sentiment on this page. And I am definitely okay with cutting down cards and just using little pieces, even if this was the only part of that card that I was going to use, which it's not. I'm actually going to bring in another section of it. But even if that was the only part I was going to use, I would be okay with that because I just tend to accumulate so many cards from different kits, and if you're subscribed to a kit, you know you get a ton every month, and it just accumulates over time. So any time or any opportunity that I have to use something, I don't really second guess it. I just put it on the page, and I know that I'm going to be much happier if I see it in my project as opposed to just kind of hoarding things over time. So I went ahead and I stamped out brunch onto that label, and I'm going to stick down that stamped out embellishment. And then I'm going to start working on the right-hand page. So I pulled in another 3x4 card, and this is where I'm kind of figuring out how I'm going to use this piece of that 4x6 card that I had trimmed down earlier. I love the boxes that are on that card, the orange card at the bottom there. Each of those areas is kind of perfect for stamping. So you're going to see that I pull in a few different stamps to kind of embellish that area. And here I'm playing around with this Studio Calico stamp set that In a Creative Bubble designed. I also love this stamp set so much because, again, it's customizable and super cute. It's all about sort of early birds and night owls, and so I love these clouds and the sunshine, and I was able to bring in some of that blue color, and it just worked really well with what I already have going on this page. This is another food-related stamp set, which I think released maybe 2 Decembers ago. But again, just a really fun food stamp set. And I'm going to bring in a couple of those sentiments to stamp out. Having a lot of fun choosing different ink colors. I'm using the Color Theory inks by Studio Calico. Again, I'll go ahead and link all of the colors that I'm using down in the description box. I love that sentiment, member of the Clean Plate Club. This story is actually from our trip that we took to Las Vegas in January. We stopped at a restaurant that we always go to for breakfast. We've gone so many times because we stop there pretty much every time we have breakfast in Vegas. We go to this one place called Mr. Mama's, and it's so good. And we've been there so many times that the owner actually comes up and talks to us. And this was our first time going with our daughter, so he came over and talked to us. And for some reason, our daughter started crying, and it was kind of the funniest thing though, because she was crying every time he would come around, but then with our waitress, she was just the sweetest and giving her high fives, and we couldn't figure it out, but it was just kind of, it made for a very funny story, and definitely something that I wanted to document in my January notebook. So I'm just going to go ahead and journal on my card. I wasn't sure if I wanted to handwrite this or type this out, but I went ahead and I kind of customized that journaling card by drawing in some of my own lines. I find that a lot of journaling cards have very wide spacing on their lines, and my handwriting is a little bit small. So I like to draw in additional lines so I can get more words onto a card, and also so I don't have kind of an awkward spacing between the words, because I don't like the look of that negative space in between lines, if that makes sense. So a lot of times I'll just customize it and draw in my own lines, and it just looks so much better. Plus it adds that extra space for me to be able to write out and kind of expand on the story that I'm telling. So again, I'm adhering those cardstock pieces, using at least one piece of red line tape to make sure that it's really stuck on there. Definitely takes more time to use the red line tape, but I find that it's so much easier to do it now than to have to worry about these pieces coming up over time and then having to kind of go back and fix them, because I feel like that's so annoying when you're flipping through a notebook and you find that your cardstock pieces or your full pieces of paper kind of coming up around the edges. I always hate that. So just taking a little bit more time to do it right the first time is definitely worthwhile for me. So I'm going to layer a couple of labels underneath my card. I love using labels as layering pieces because they make great spots for additional stamping, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to stamp out today's menu, and then I think I'm going to write the name of the location, which is Mr. Mama's. I definitely recommend that place if you're ever out in Vegas and you're looking for a good breakfast place. It's so good. And then I'm going to also stamp out Happy Belly, and I will add that as an embellishment. That's going to wrap up this page. I hope that you enjoyed this process. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. And I will see you again very soon. Bye!